Ugh. Bounce my way back here.
So close.
We are, I feel like we're all right.
Let me make sure
Nice spaced.
Yeah, that
We
just
good? We
it
don't
looks
look
weird if
We
you're
don't look
not.
awkward anymore. Well, because I don't want to say my client's name because I don't know if she cares if I
Well, you
use
don't have
her.
to say the name. You just have to say a client of mine.
Oh yeah, I guess so. A client of mine I was talking with this week, I was explaining to her the benefits of exercise that so often are just focused on the physical benefits of exercise and like the emphasis on losing weight or trying to get a beach bod or
Right.
and really I was trying to convey to her, communicate that those are like second thought. Like that happens. That will happen with exercise. Like you will.
They're like superficial.
Right.
You're saying.
Yeah, you will physically benefit, but I think the bigger and more important part of exercise is how you develop and refine yourself as a person from like an emotional standpoint, behavioral
Right.
standpoint, development of confidence.
Yeah, I think, so I always tell clients, I explain my whole life I've never had that unhealthy relationship with exercise. I've always saw exercise as an outlet or a way to kind of bring myself into the moment because I still am not good at this, at living in that moment. And exercise for me brings me right there in that moment. I have to focus on what I'm doing. And it's that deep breathing. It's just that meditation. It's meditation for me.
Well, I think that might be why so many people hate exercise.
Yeah,
is what
no,
you just
yeah.
said right there.
Yeah.
Because it forces you to be present in the moment, and so often in our society and world, I don't care who you are. Like, I'm guilty of it too. Like if I'm doing dishes, I'm listening to a podcast at the same time, right? Or I'm always planning, or if I'm cleaning our facility, I'm thinking about marketing strategies. I'm never like actually in the moment. So I do think when people are forced by exercise to be in that moment, and 10 seconds feels like an eternity when you're running on a treadmill or whatever, it's just hard for them mentally just to be in that space and only have that moment, which I think is really important for us to do because we don't do it anymore.
No, definitely not. Especially with, we always have the phone in our hand, we're on social media. We're always judging ourselves because we're looking at people on social media, wanting to be like them, but not doing the things that need to be done. And it's a lot has to do with the lifestyle, not the workouts that you're doing. It's more so, I know I address and we address, it's more so of that emotional, we try to dig deeper than just that surface layer, right? So what you were talking about, the
why behind it, like
why
are you
why do you want to do this?
Why do you want a beach bod?
Yeah. Why do you want to look good? And it's a lot deeper. That's what I love about what I do. It's with these clients, you definitely have a deeper connection because you are diving very deep into their life.
Sure.
And, week by week, month by month.
Well, as you're invited to, right?
Yeah,
You can't just like pry and be
No.
like, all right, why do you want a beach bod? Do you feel
Right.
insecure with who you are as a person?
Yes,
like,
yeah.
No, that's not.
But when you dive a little deeper, you start to find these little things and you address it and you confront it and you can work with that. We can work more with these emotional ties. And a lot of it's just these unhealthy relationships. And some of it's really deep. I'm trying to think of an example.
Well, like, we'll keep using the beach bod one. Like, do you have a desire for intimacy or a relationship? Like maybe you're single and you want to be dating, or you're not happy with your dating situation or whatever, and you feel like creating that physical image is going to attract people, which I'm not saying it doesn't, absolutely does, but I think it gives you also confidence, and I think that's the bigger thing there, and the key to really hone in on is you need to develop confidence. Now, Can you develop confidence through exercise? Absolutely, because you learn to push yourself, you learn self-discipline, you learn that you are valuable. By showing up to the gym every day or setting aside time for yourself, you are saying to yourself, I am worth it, I am worth that time, and I respect myself. And by respecting yourself, you demand other people to respect you.
Right.
So I think when we talk about depth there and exercise, yeah, sure, you want to be attracted to somebody else, but physical attraction is just a component of that. That other attraction comes from confidence, especially as like a male. I know as a teenager, like I thought my confidence would come from like, oh yeah, I got a six pack, that gives you confidence. Having a six pack does not give you confidence.
No.
Right? And as a male, I think having that confidence and a little bit of swagger, it makes your counterpart and a female feel secure. That's what they want, right? You want to feel secure. You want to be with somebody who's confident. So if that's your goal, or maybe it's intimacy, right? Maybe you want to improve your intimacy with your partner, your spouse, and that's a way to do it. Again, it comes back to it's self-love, self-respect, and
that's
confidence.
what it really comes down to, is being able to accept yourself for who you are, not who you want to be. Because so many times, once again, it goes back to social media. Everyone always goes back to social media. Well, I want to look like this person, whether it's male or female, whoever they are, this is what I want to look like. But we are an individual person. We're not made the same. We're kind of like a sculpture, right? And we're sculpted each individually. So art, every piece of art is different, just like every person is different.
Yeah.
And I will say, I know working out, a lot of people look at it as it's a selfish thing to do, because if you look at it from the outside part, so the material part, you're looking at body image. Yeah, the superficial part. People think, oh, well, they're doing this, they're spending this time on themselves as...
Right, it's shallow.
They look at it as that, when it's not. It's
flexing in the mirror, posting, everybody
pictures.
Check out my gains.
Yeah, yes. And that's not what we do here at Kinesis.
Not at all.
And I think that's important to address, because I think people are intimidated. They want to look that way, and they're intimidated. And the things that they see, just the crazy lifting, and not even that. It's also,
I would argue that superficial drive of having to achieve a physical standard of, whether you're talking about the Instagram fitness models or whatnot, it's a false confidence, and it's like insecurity breeds insecurity, and it like stacks on top of itself, and it's like this house of cards that from the outside looks like these people are really confident, but their entire, this isn't to like knock anybody or to like be judgy, but the entire identity is built on a physical appearance, so that once that's removed, they don't know who they are outside of that. So how can you be happy and free to live your life and express who you really are?
Yes. And I think, once again, it's getting rid of that stigma. And especially as trainers, people come in here and expect these crazy workouts where they're left crawling out of the gym, when really we're trying to, there's some days where you're going to be exhausted after the workouts, right? There's a time and a place for these hard workouts.
Yeah, mental fortitude, pushing yourself and persevering over something hard.
Right. But, if we take it back to what we do, so the biomechanics, we focus on movement. So how well are you moving? We build this foundation for our clients, and not just a foundation for their body, but a foundation for their mind, because the stronger you are, the better. When we're building, when you're building a building, so the structure, you have to start at a solid base, correct? So if we don't have that solid foundation, and you're missing one component, mind, body, spirit, we'll just say that, you're going to, at one point, that building, that foundation, you have to have all three in order to have that nice, strong building.
Right.
And I know that's what we're built upon. That's our rocks. And I know at other places, it's just come in, it's all about, and I'll give an example, like we'll talk about college training. It was all about, because I'm going to go back to sports. So I had a coach who, it was all about, okay, this is, at least our team is going to look good. We're going to do these crazy hard workouts and our team will look good. But why do we need to look good in order to compete
Really?
well?
Your coach was like that?
Yeah, one of my coaches. I had a couple coaches in college, so.
That seems
and it was,
counterproductive.
and it basically was saying that we sucked, you know? You guys suck, so you're going to look good instead of competing.
Performing.
Yeah,
Okay.
performing. But the foundation part in athletes miss this. We bring a lot of athletes in here, and they're missing that foundational work. And I think that's a very important component.
Now, when you say foundational work, are you talking about the mind spirit portion of the foundation? Or are you talking about just like what we call our pillars here, like their postural stability, appropriate mobility?
I'm talking about all of it.
Okay.
Those are all foundations, right?
Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah.
I didn't know if there was one area
Yeah, I guess, I mean, I was talking about like the whole thing, building,
Oh,
starting at the bottom.
I agree. I think especially, and this isn't just athletes, we kind of touched on it already, but when your identity is wrapped up in some sort of physical component, it's very easy to be shattered or broken. So like we talked about the Instagram models or whatnot, kind of having a very, I hate to say shadow, but almost like a shell of an identity. But the same thing can happen with athletics, and it does happen in athletics, and athletes especially. When your identity is wrapped fully in who you are as, whether it's a football player, a basketball player, or whatever, track athlete, now your identity is based upon your performance in that sport. So every time you perform, there's this risk of loss of identity, because if you don't live up to what you believe your identity to be, you lose who you are. That's a lot of pressure. That's almost crushing, and for a lot of people, I think it becomes crippling in their ability to be successful as an athlete. It's like self-limiting. Instead of understanding their value and worth as human beings, and that the sport is just something they do to express who they are. It's not who they are, it's an expression of who they are.
Right.
That opens a whole nother avenue for the ability to fail and then learn from those failures and grow and then succeed. I wish that more people worked on that and touched on it more within the field, because I think a lot of what we do is seen as very superficial, shallow, selfish, like you said.
Yeah, there's definitely a stigma.
A stigma to it. It's, I don't know, I think the emotional and behavioral, at least for me, aspects to exercise, they help shape like who you are. That like we talked about, working hard and having hard workouts where you develop mental fortitude. That doesn't mean every exercise, every workout, every day, but there are times where we wake up at 4:40 in the morning, and you get up and you're at the gym working out by 5:30. I don't want to do that, but I force myself to do it. There's a lot of things in life you don't want to do, and learning how to make yourself do something you don't want to do is very important, right? There's a lot of things we don't want to do, or things we get anxious about, or just having the confidence that you can overcome and achieve something, I think just is so important to develop. And then I guess coming full circle back to where we started before, being in that moment when you're exercising too, just calming the mind, and just being where you're at, and not really having anything that you can't even think about before, and you can't think about anything after it. That's the one thing I know I enjoyed a lot of as an athlete, is some of those hard workouts. You're just focusing on the next breath. You're just right now, it's like I got 10 seconds to breathe before I got to run again. You don't have the energy or capacity to think about anything beyond that, which is very grounding,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. And I guess if we go back to body, a lot of people, when they do see, you know, different influencers or just people online or even in a magazine, they think like, oh, they have it all. They, you know, they have these perfect bodies, and you look behind the scenes, because we have seen this before, and these people are just, they're a mess because they're not, I'm going to go back to this foundation that's so important that we address.
Yeah.
We have to address that mental component.
Right.
And like you said, the identity component, because you see yourself as, oh, I have this great body,
Yeah.
but what else?
Right.
You know, there's so much more to life than just that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that's what I wanted to gear away from. You know, every place I worked at prior to owning my own business, it was always about body image. How much
Right.
weight are they losing?
Yeah.
Take measurements,
Yeah.
skin folds, weigh
Yeah.
them. We do none of that here.
No.
We don't focus on any of that, because
No.
here you're coming in and you're learning how it's not just the exercise and the movement trying to get you. We're trying to also, you know, develop different movements to allow you to move for the rest of your life,
Yeah.
and to move
Have
without
a-
fear.
Have
and
a healthy lifestyle.
yeah, and
not-
it's
not-
an all-around thing, not
Right.
just in the gym.
Right.
You know, we work with other professionals as well, right?
Right, yeah.
We have, you know, we work with a couple new nutritionists. One specifically, we work with a lot behavioral therapists who is more so working on the behavioral part of
That's it.
nutrition.
Yeah.
But it's going deep. You know, people, even just, there are many people out there, we talk about quieting the mind and how people hate that, and that's why they hate exercise. And I used to be one of them, where I couldn't sit in silence for even just 1 minute without my brain going. I mean, you know, like, you were the one that had me do this meditation stuff, and I couldn't do it. I would just freak out when I had to be quiet. And I think we really have to, with our profession, it's so important to dig deeper than just that superficial layer. And that's why I love what we do, and I think it's so important. And it's completely different. We don't post pictures online of ourselves, you know.
Yeah,
And people
honestly,
people want
yeah.
us to, right?
I
They're
know.
always saying,
I've been-
"Why don't you do
yeah.
that? You will sell so much more
get
if
in-
people come in."
Get tanned up, waxed up,
Yeah, no, I don't want
take
to.
your shirt
Like,
off and flex. But yeah.
But that's not what I'm about, and I'd be lying if
Well,
I did do
I think
that.
we'd be contributing to the problem and dysfunctional relationships with exercise,
Yeah.
and that we're
And-
trying to combat here.
Yeah,
essentially.
and I'll give an example too, like of one of my clients. You know, she came from doing a bunch of crazy workouts, and her last place she came from was CrossFit. And I could tell she was very anxious to work out with me because it's different. You come in here and you're not driving yourself into the ground. And in the back of her mind, and I know in the back of a lot of people's mind, they're like, I'm not going to like have the body I want. And it
Right,
was
right.
trying to restructure those thoughts.
Right.
And now she's like, I feel so much better today than I ever have. I'm stronger. I'm injury free. I'm able to do things that I didn't think I'd be able to do before.
Right.
I mean, she's crushing it.
Right.
And not
Well,
only that, mentally, it's just,
That's because
a whole different person.
The focus is in different areas. The goals are different, right? It's not just
Yeah.
It's not just let's burn a bunch of calories so we can trim fat and then lift as much weight as possible to build muscle. The emphasis is on mind-body connection, right? And
Yes.
refining your movement
Yeah.
patterns and increasing your movement abilities. Like what can you do with your body, right? So that you can go out and you can enjoy your life. You can play whatever sports you want to do. You can run around with your kids or your nieces, nephews, whatever you want to do. You have freedom to live your life the way you want, and hopefully in a much healthier manner. You know, how many people do we know that it's like their gym buddies are just like the people they go to. They get a pump in before they go out and then just go crazy at the bar for 3 days and
Yeah.
then rinse and repeat the next week. And it's like, is that really promoting a well-balanced, healthy person, an individual that's setting you up for a successful life? I don't think so.
No.
Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think so.
Yeah, no. And if you dive in a little bit deeper, we talk about the mind, and the quote, mind is the source of all movement, and I'm going to go a little bit deeper with this, but Mary Baker Eddy used to say that, and I never thought I would end up using that throughout the rest of my life or for a business. But it's true, the mind is the source of, everything, even illnesses, right? The research has found that if they dig deeper, it's been proven for cancer patients, they can dig deeper and find their, in that subconscious
anxiety, fear,
stuff that
anger,
has affected them when they were younger, trauma, and their cancer is cured.
Right.
So how important it is for us to address the mind in movement as well.
Right.
And that quote,
it gets tricky. I was explaining to
a client
a client the other day. It's as simple as we all know this. Like, it's not even, you don't have to be trained in the field to believe or understand that your emotions affect your movements. Like, it's as simple as when you go out today, you can be at a store, at the mall, or wherever you're at, and you can determine how somebody feels by their posture, by the way they stand, by the way they hold themselves. You can start to infer, how do they feel about themselves? How do they feel in this situation? How are they feeling today? You can determine that by the way they walk and carry themselves.
Yeah.
And that's layman's terms, so what we call body language.
Yeah.
That's your body, your posture is going to be very influential to the way you're able to actually move and function as a human being.
Right.
So at the core of it, it's like, okay, so we can address our soft tissue stuff, we can address our range of motion, our flexibility, and all these other things. And you're wondering why somebody's posture is not improving. Well, have we talked about their self-confidence? Have we talked about their stress? Have we talked about how they're feeling physically, like emotionally? Because those are arguably more important than what's going on with the tissue adaptations. The tissue is going to adapt to whatever stress is put on it. So if we don't address these mental, emotional, behavioral issues with people, you're almost doing nothing.
Right. Because if they're not
you're
in
gonna keep
proper...
you're going to keep striking out, and you're not going to really understand why.
Right. And that comes with our alignment work, the postural work. If they're not in the if they're not in the proper posture, if they don't have proper alignment, and you're training as well, you're never going to hit the correct muscles because they're not in the proper position
against
as
gravity.
It is.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, against gravity.
Muscles fire as a reflex against gravity. Whatever's lined up to fire is going to activate. No matter how much you try to squeeze, it's not going to work. Yeah, so you got to get down to some of those root things. It's
yeah,
pretty
you really
wild.
do. It's and it's like I said, the relationships that we have with clients is just they're real. They're real relationships. We end up having these clients for years because you just feel like, you're a part of their life. You're part of, it's like family.
Yeah, as invited to be, right?
Yeah.
And it takes time.
And I will say too, we have clients that come in here that are focused right on the superficial part, and they don't stay long because they're not willing to go deeper. And we know that. We can tell that when people come in, or even when we do our assessments, and we have the reason why we have assessments too is, are we able to work with you? Is this really what you want? Because some people aren't ready for that yet.
And that's fine, but I don't expect people to be ready for that the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sessions. Like it takes time because they're sensitive things that you're sharing with somebody. Or I'd argue a lot of times they're not even aware of it themselves.
No, that's what I'm saying.
I would say most people aren't aware of it because they don't take time to self-reflect. They don't take time to be present. So they don't even know that, like, why am I chasing this image, or why am I chasing this ideal standard?
Yeah.
Because if they don't know the why to that, and you start asking them what their goals are, and they tell you, I want to lose 20 pounds, and you're going, well, why? And they're looking at you, well, what do you mean why? Because I need to lose 20 pounds.
But then you have them, and what I was trying to say is when they do lose weight and they do look good and you see it, like we both see it, they're still not happy. And that's the point. You're not going to be, it's never going to be good enough until you accept yourself for who you are, that underlying, that emotional factor.
Yeah, you answer the why as to why do you actually want to lose weight. Like what is lacking and what are you trying to put into that void?
Yeah.
So again, I guess that comes back to that foundation you were talking about, the mind, body, spirit, all kind of working together to build the foundation of who you are and for your life.
It's so important, and I can't stress that enough. And it's not just with people wanting to lose weight, it's with our athletes as well. And more so our athletes. I see that, especially as an athlete myself, I saw that in a lot of the sports that I did.
No, I'd say I was the same way. Looking back, I think if I would have put less pressure on myself to perform, and I think I would have performed a lot better, to be honest. I think if I would have saw it for what it was, a sport, and enjoyed it more instead of wrapping up an identity in it, I think I would have been much more successful. So.
I agree. I 100% agree with that, because I was the same exact way. And that's what we're trying to prevent with our athletes, our clients. I want to be able to help them with what wasn't addressed to us, and we didn't have that opportunity for us with past coaches. And I will say I've had some really good coaches and really good trainers that I look up to. But in the end, you don't find many people who address that underlying, the biggest part, which is that mind, body, spirit. Just being able to be present, be in that moment, and enjoy where you're at, because time goes by fast. So it's like.
I agree. I don't know that I have too much more to. I think that's
pretty good, especially on this component. I think the next time we should talk more into like posture, and we can kind of go through the different phases we go through. It's just
we've been talking a while. I don't think people are going to want to watch this long.
Okay.
we better turn this off.
Yeah.
Stop the recording.
I'm going to unlock the door just in case.